G'day guys, how you going? Hope you're all doing very well. This afternoon I'm going to be doing another movie review. This movie is a horror film from South Africa, English language, released in the year 2017, directed by Alistair Orr, and this film is called From a House on Willow Street. So From a House on Willow Street is about a group of criminals who abduct a wealthy businessman's daughter in order to get a ransom. So they make the ransom video, but no one responds to it. So they ring the house and that they kidnapped this girl from, and no one answers the phone. So they think that something's wrong. So they go to the house to actually check out what's going on, and they realise that there's a secret behind this house that is putting them in grave danger. So this girl ends up being the last person they would ever want to kidnap, is because now her secret is going to put their lives in danger, and therefore this is going to turn from a kidnapping to a tale of survival, and whether or not they can get out of this ordeal alive is something you're going to have to find out for yourself, because that's as far as I'm going with my synopsis. Now my thoughts on From a House on Willow Street. I was very interested to see this film. I didn't really have expectations coming into it because Alistair Orr is a very, very intriguing filmmaker. He made another movie, a South African film called Rancid. I reviewed that a long time ago, so if you want to actually see what I thought about that film, please go in and track that review down. But he had a lot of interesting ideas, but he didn't really execute Rancid very well. And so for that reason, I was sceptical coming into From a House on Willow Street, but I really liked the trailer, and I really liked Shani Vincent, who's a fellow Australian. So she was very good in You're Next, and that's a role that I really enjoyed. So when she was in this film, combined with this director, I was curious to see what this could produce. And unfortunately, those expectation levels that were very low for a very good reason. As I said, all the problems that were in Rancid have actually translated through into this film. I don't think that Alistair Orr has really learnt a lot from the mistakes he made in Rancid, and unfortunately those mistakes are present in From a House on Willow Street, and it really affected my enjoyment of the film, and I came away from it disliking it a lot. Now I will say that there are positives. The positives are the cinematography. It has a very hellish feel. It has a very surreal feel. So it actually feels like that it's paying homage to films that have come before it. In particular, Evil Dead, where it's got a very nightmarish, and it feels like a descent into hell. You've got these very good creature designs. You've got some pretty good effects, and so that actually it will appeal to people who like films of the 80s, where this style was produced thick and fast. And so you've also got a very good score that helps contribute to that feeling of horror. And so as far as the presentation is concerned, I think Alistair Orr really understands what it is to actually portray something that is horrific, and he does that in Rancid. But unfortunately, where Rancid fell down is in its storytelling, and unfortunately that is the same with From a House on Willow Street. This is an incredibly predictable film, is because it is being recycled. There are a lot of moments in this movie that are very cliched, and because you've seen them in other films, you know exactly how this movie is going to pan out. So I thought it was a very lazy film. I thought there were methods in this movie, in the horror set pieces, that were repeated over and over and over, and it does become irritating, is that you feel, okay, I'm having a case of deja vu every 5 minutes, and that affects the enjoyment, is because the director wants you to actually feel scared. He wants to get you into that fun sort of environment, but the environment is never actually entered, is because you get a lot of recycled stuff, is because you've got very cheap jump scares, and you've got everything that is lazy about horror that is put into this film, and it does affect the enjoyment considerably, and therefore it's definitely a movie that I would not recommend. Now, there are moments, a case in point, where you hear these footsteps, that it appears that someone's running, and they turn around and no one's there, and they do this over and over and over and over, and you think to yourself, okay, surely you have more tricks up your sleeve, surely this is not just a one-trick pony sort of film, and unfortunately it is. So it feels like the movie doesn't have a lot of material, and it just has to go and it has to create a lot of filler, and the whole film feels like a filler, and so that was one of the big disappointments in the movie. Another disappointment is that if you're going to make a movie that is going to be set in the United States and it's going to have American characters, cast American actors. Is because when you've got foreigners producing an American accent that aren't very good, it takes you out of the whole situation. Shani Vincent, very good Australian actress. She was great, as I said, in You're Next, but when she's doing this American accent, you know that she's Australian, and because you know she's Australian, you feel, okay, I'm not really getting into this character, is because something is really off, and it's that accent that's really off. And you've got other supporting characters who are from South Africa who are doing the same thing, but their accents are horrible, and so sometimes you actually feel as though they're flat out South Africans or Australians. In other instances, you think, okay, they're Americans, and because it's got that very inconsistent sort of feel to it, it affects once again the enjoyment of the film. So there's a lot of negatives to this movie. I thought that the ending was a cop-out. It was a very lazy way of finishing, and so Alistair Orr has taken the ideas from movies like Evil Dead and other films that were similar to that, and he's just made a modern day version of it, but it just lacks a lot of inspiration, and therefore the viewer won't come away from this movie feeling rewarded. If you want to see a film like this that's done a lot better, just watch The Evil Dead again, and probably skip the opportunity to see this one. So overall, for From a House on Willow Street, only going to give this one star. I was really not liking this film at all. Alright guys, that's it for my review. Hope you enjoyed it. Till next time, keep watching movies, and I'll see you later.